What's up, everyone? It's DeagleBeagle. So today we're gonna look at Okidogi. I think that's how you say it, and see what this thing is all about. So you go to Peakalytics. These percentages are off, but I believe proportionally they are accurate. For example, like poison jab would be the second most accurate. Second most common move. So I believe the proportionality is correct. So, for example, so whatever 16 divided by 25 is approximately like what? What's the math on that? 72% or so of uh, like there's. Let me put it this way: for every person that uses drain punch, 72% of those people use poison jab. I believe that would be an accurate statement to say. But regardless, let's just look at this thing. So, oh, high horsepower. Did I see that? That's not a bad move. So, right off the bat, some pros and cons of Okidogi. It's weak to a few things. It's actually 4 times weak to psychic. So, I'm already thinking of Terra Dark, and I'm shocked that I don't see that as number one. But we'll get to that later. I guess I'm not that shocked, but it's just like that's its hugest weakness, even though psychic isn't super common, so I guess I could see someone not using Terra Dark. We got to look at its other typings too to see which Terra type is probably the best, not just defensively but offensively or both. And Howl gives Crunch, Snarl. Okay, but you compare this thing to Mabostiff, and Mabostiff has a lower base stat total, different typing. If it had the same base stat total, it might even be better than Okidogi, even though it would only have one stab. But maybe not because Flutter Mane is so common. But so is stuff like Landorus, and that this thing's weak to that. So, but I suppose it can actually survive a hit, unlike my Mabostiff. I don't know why the default on the team builder sometimes just puts it as like 0 for like the attack or something. Okay, so you would probably want. Well, first, actually, let's look at its moves. It gets. How come I don't see close combat? We see it a little bit, but people must be all using the bulk of Drain Punch set, huh? That's what I've seen so far. Does this thing even get fake out? I thought it did at first. That's why I was kind of scared, but it doesn't have it. I think a lot of people just get thrown off by this Pokemon because they've never seen it before. In fact, I was stupid enough last game to intimidate it, and I totally forgot about its ability, Guard Dog. I didn't really think about it because it was a closed team sheet battle. If it was an open team sheet, I would have probably checked the ability, and I mean most of them are going to be guard dog. Almost all of them are going to be guard dog anyways in hindsight, but it just would have reminded me to think about the ability is my point, and I might not have intimidated him. I might have still done it, but anyways. So you need a fighting move. You need a poison. You probably need a poison move. So I'm gonna start off with poison jab, and is that the most? That's the second most common move. Um, I suppose it would have been the most common move if there wasn't gunk shot, because the usage is kind of split between those two. Let's look at gunk shot. 80 accuracy, 120 power. That's a little bit more powerful, I believe, than Hydro Pump, because Hydro Pump is like 110 power. So, but 80 accuracy is bad though. Like, I don't care if it had like 100 and I don't know 50 power. I mean, maybe, but just 80% accuracy is crap. And I do use Stone Edge Landorus, but that's only because Because if, let's say you hit one stone edge out of two, that's better to have the chance of, as long as you don't miss 3 times in a row, it's probably going to be better than something like Rock Slide or Rock Tomb if you're primarily trying to like kill a Tornadus or something. So I do understand the risks, but I think if you're wanting to use a more powerful move, use like close combat instead of gunk shot. But I guess gunk shot, technically there's nothing necessarily bad about it, because yeah, on average it will do more damage than poison jab, but it's just not consistent. So poison jab, and then we need to go into its typing now that I've looked at all the moves it gets. So it's weak to psychic 4 times, it's weak to flying 2 times, it's weak to ground 2 times. Am I missing something? Wish it would just say what the weaknesses are so we don't have to keep going through all this. Because I just always feel like I might be missing something. That's why I go back to the typing chart. So, psychic, flying. I wish it would just say like it would have the dual typing or the Pokemon. They really should just have a list. Yeah, actually, I need to find a site where they just list the Pokemon, or you type in the Pokemon and it says its weaknesses. So, yeah, let's actually see if there's something like that right now for each Pokemon. Wait, Pokemon Go? No. Dual chart. Okay, let's try this. Dual type charts. Maybe this is it. So it's, wait, I'm blanking on the typing. Poison, fighting. That's cool. I've never used this before. Dual typing. So this is just what we need. So it's weak to, but then you gotta scroll up. Psychic, that must be psychic. That's probably one of them is flying and one is ground. So yeah, those 3 things, and it resists quite a lot actually. It resists. Wait, does anything even do neutral to it? Oh, the neutral stuff is probably the white, huh? Um, okay. Oh, it even says when you hover over it, fire does normal effectiveness versus poison fighting. And then this, water. So if you hover over, you can see ground. Yeah, so that's ground, that's flying. So, what resists flying, ground, and psychic? Let's see. Electric? No, that's still going to be weak to ground, though. Rock? That's still going to be weak to ground. Steel? That's still going to be weak to ground. So you probably shouldn't focus too much on the flying, weakness. Even though Bleak Wind Storm is pretty common, so is like a Stomping Tantrum. So let's look at ground. If you use grass, you're still weak to flying, so probably not. See, that's the problem with this Pokemon. It's like you have to use a Terra that doesn't really resist what you're weak to. Otherwise, you'll continue to be weak to something else if you Terra to resist something. So, wait, what was I talking about? Poison? No, flying, ground. Oh, I was on ground. And not bug. Flying might be a decent Terra type, because you take neutral from psychic and flying, and then ground you take nothing from. So you would probably want either flying or, let's look at psychic, either dark or flying probably. or some typing that's neutral versus almost everything, which used to be water, but now it's probably more like fairy. However, this Pokemon already resists the same type of things that fairy resists, so maybe not fairy, because if you look at fairy, it resists. Where is it? Fairy's over here. It resists fighting, bug, dark. I mean, some of those Okidogi resists, so it's like Terra Fairy doesn't really make any sense. Terra Water, well, it does resist grass to start with, so in a sense, water might be good. That's like that I never thought about that till now. That's like the inverse of being weak to something and trying to Terra defensively. You could, if you already resist something, you could kind of Terra to something that's weak to the move that you're resisting already. So they might not expect you to, for example, Terra Water, and you might be able to, bluff your defensive typing, original typing for a turn, and Terra Water or whatever. So let's say it's like a Rillaboom using a grass move. You could just basically Terra Water, but I don't think water probably shouldn't be, well, maybe I shouldn't say shouldn't be the top Terra, because Dark is weak to Flutter Mane, so yeah, maybe Dark's not the best, but you would think like Flying would be actually more common. Like, it's not even the top 4, it's not even the top 6. What? Like, I could kind of see us Poison or Fighting since it's a stab move, but and Grass a little bit too, because it resists ground and it is immune to Spore, but I don't think Fairy is a very good type for it. Steel is alright with it because it resists 2 of the things that it's weak to, Flying and Psychic. So I could see Steel, even though it's still weak to ground. But something, I mean, you could, the way I see it though is like, let's say you Terra Water, you only take neutral damage when you could have possibly resisted them with, say, Steel. So, I mean, it really depends though. Water resists probably, well, it resists all 3 attacks that are trying to super effective, while Steel only resists 2. So yeah, a more consistent Terra would probably be Water than Steel. So yeah, Water is probably better than Steel, but I still think Flying should probably be the most common Terra, unless I'm missing something. Because if you look at the usage, well, it already resists hands though, like without the Flying Terra. So you could just keep its typing versus that. Versus Tornadus, you would be weak to that, so you could Terra Flying and take neutral from Bleak Wind Storm if you really needed to. And Landorus, you would fare pretty well against, even though it could Rock Slide. So I suppose, yeah, Water would be good in that sense. And then Hearth Flame could use a fire move. Okay, so actually I could see Terra Water maybe being useful in a specific matchup, like versus Hearth Flame though, you would, I mean, versus that specific Pokemon, you would want to use like Terra Fire or Dragon, but that's just one Pokemon out of all the Pokemon you could use. So, okay, anyways, Okidogi, you could use Drain Punch, Bulk Up, Protect. So you could use leftovers with it. And probably give it max special defense because you're going to be using bulk up. So this thing actually has pretty decent stats, except you might, well, it depends if you're using Tailwind. If you are using Tailwind, then you might want like at least 104 speed to outspeed Bundle and Flutterbane. And bulk up is just one option, but it gives it an option to say wall certain teams, like hands with something something, you know, like hands, and even a Cresselia. If you were to Terra flying, you could wall the psychic, or well, even Ice Beam you could possibly wall. If you Drain Punch their ally, get some HP back, protect with leftovers, all of that. So Okidogi actually, it seems like it's mostly designed for like Landorus, Arcanine, things that have Icy Wind. And wait a minute, does Guard Dog work for... Oh, Guard Dog I don't think works against Icy Wind. Let's look that up. It looks like it's made for specifically Intimidate, and it says it cannot be forced to switch out. But that second option isn't really useful at all, almost, because when are they ever gonna force you out? Like, unless you use Roar or Red Card, Whirlwind. I think that's more of a singles ability. The second part of it is better for like singles, because nobody's gonna really try to force you out. They might actually force you in with Shadow Tag, but as far as forcing out goes, that is pretty rare. So Roar, Circle, Throw, etc. Red Card. You can still switch out, of course, manually, or flee with your own move. Yeah, it looks like it's specific for Intimidate. So Icy Wind wouldn't activate Guard Dog, it looks like. And let's just show like a non-bulk up set. You could probably use... What else could you use with it? High horsepower, Ice Punch. Ice Punch might be useful because you're gonna face Landorus a lot. So yeah, I think I'll make a what you would call it set, Assault Vest set. So get rid of these two moves, and you could probably, I don't know, just give it some special defense, or none even, if you don't want any, and just give it attack. So Drain Punch, you could give it Ice Punch. That'd be great versus Landorus. And Flying actually might not be the best Terra, because if they have like a Arcanine and you need a Terra, then you're weak to their Rock Slide and weak to Landorus's Rock Slide. So we could just try another Terra. I mean, Terra Water would be fine. For example, okay, the last move probably should be close combat or high horsepower. But what does that really hit? It hits Iron Hands. It hits... probably hits enough. You could even use Iron